Greetings, everybody. It's the Garlic Bread Warlord, Nick Alifi, and this is Soccer Over There. It's the Crumpets and Espresso Crumpets, food products, whatever it is. I want to give a shout out to our friends listening here in the United States, in Argentina, and in Italy. So if you are listening live to this, yes, we are not live, but if you are listening to it, I want to thank you for tuning in. You have no idea how much your support means to us. Roberto and Florence, my man, hope you're doing well. So I had a whole show planned on the Champions League draw, on the great action in Serie A this weekend. And then, of course, we get the news that Serie A, with their No to Racism campaign, has kicked off. And they had a news conference. And in this news conference, there were 3 pictures in which the Serie A chief executive was standing in front of. It's the 3 images of chimpanzees. That's right. It's 3 chimpanzees with some sort of color around the eyes that's supposed to signify different clubs. Okay? Different clubs, different nationalities, however you want to interpret it. So the artwork is going to be displayed at Serie A headquarters in Milan. I have to again say that the artwork was created as part of Serie A's No to Racism campaign. I have to say that. And I have to say it because we need to go back in time a little bit, because I have to put this in context. Serie A, for the past couple of years, has just been getting nuked in the global media for how they handle racism. You had Inter Ultras, you have Lazio Ultras, Cagliari Ultras, you had Hellas Verona Ultras, all going above and beyond to see who could out-stupid the next. And only a couple of teams, Fiorentina, Roma, Milan, Napoli, they were like the only ones who said, hey, if you guys act stupid and drop racist insults, we're booting you and you're going to stay gone. And then we had Corriere dello Sport, who came in and they did Black Friday, where you had Chris Smalling and Romelu Lukaku, 2 black guys on the cover, as Roma and Inter were facing off. Lukaku and Smalling both said, hey guys, this is racist. And then, yeah. Then the paper doubled down and said, nah, not really. It's not really racist. Yeah. So now that we're leading into this, Serie A has decided to do something about it. They say, okay, we're going to put out a statement that includes all the clubs, that we are saying no to racism, and we are going to approach it from a couple of different ways. And I want to quote people. I don't want to try to, interpret what they're saying. I want to give exact words where I can. And the Serie A chief executive comes in and says, the league's commitment against all forms of prejudice is strong and concrete. We know that racism is an endemic and very complex problem, which we will tackle on 3 different levels. The cultural one, through works like that of Simeone, which I'll tell you about momentarily. The sporting one, with a series of initiatives together with the clubs and players. And the repressive one, thanks to the collaboration with the police. Now, comparatively speaking, this is a seismic sea change from what we heard from Serie A, which was largely nothing, for the past 6 months to a year. This is actually Serie A saying, we are going to work with the cops to curb racism, to get the racists out. We are going to work with the players and the clubs, and we will engage culturally with works of art. Now, let's go back to the images of the 3 chimps, okay? Now, the artist, Simeone Focazzotto, has said he always uses monkeys in his work. And now, on some diving in today, doing some research. Yes, the man, that's his thing. He uses monkeys in his paintings. I interpret it as no different than, some of the American artists who use certain animals in their artwork, and that's just their thing. That is what they do. That is their business. However, I'm going to have to quote the artist here because I don't want to put any words in his mouth, and I don't want to give any false impressions. This guy's words are his words. And I quote, "I decided to portray monkeys to talk about racism because they are the metaphor for human beings. Last year, I was at the stadium to see Inter versus Napoli, a match in which Napoli defender Koulibaly was racially abused, and I felt humiliated. And everyone was shouting monkey at Koulibaly, a player I respect. I've been painting monkeys for 5 to 6 years, so I thought I'd make this work to teach that we're all apes. I made a Western monkey with blue and white eyes, the Asian monkey with almond-shaped eyes, and the black monkey positioned in the center, where everything comes from. The monkey becomes the spark to teach everyone that there is no difference. There is no man or monkey. We are all alike. If anything, we are all monkeys." Okay, let's focus on the good for a moment, because there's a lot to unpack here. The good, Serie A, on the surface, looks like they're trying to do something about racism. They've heard the complaints. I'm sure there's some money people in the background who are pulling some pretty heavy strings and wires to try to get something done. Some of the teams are speaking up, I'm sure, especially those with American ownership. They know that this is killing the brand. And so Serie A saying we have a 3-point plan to attack this. Great. Good for you. You want to engage culturally with art. Great. You want to get the cops involved to get the ultras, 1, de-weaponized, and 2, out of the stadiums. Excellent. I wish you the best of luck. I honestly, without any sarcasm, Serie A, I wish you the best of luck in that. But part of this needs to be brand remediation. And what do I mean by that? That means if I get a focus group, if I get 10 people, any random 10 people, throw them in a room, and I go to a whiteboard and I write Serie A on the whiteboard. And I ask, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Serie A? Okay. Is it soccer? Is it Juve, Milan, Inter, Roma, or is it racism? And I promise you, if you get any 10 people who are remote soccer fans and you ask them about Serie A, it's probably going to be racism, which requires brand remediation. This isn't trying to draw a line between Coke and Pepsi, or Bud and Miller, or maybe, hey, we had some sort of freak accident with an automobile, so we're trying to prove that our cars are safe. Or like VW, where we were maybe falsely putting out the amount of carbon emissions that our cars put out there. So we've gone and completely redesigned our cars. These are the cleanest cars on the road. Brand remediation. Right? When you have to go and do a sea change on your brand to completely reverse course on where you're going. Target did it after the cyber break. They came out and they said, hey, we have completely redone our entire IT system. We've implemented new security controls. You and your information are safe with us. Okay? People shop at Target still. If you handle it the right way, people will still do business with you. If you tuck your head in the sand and pretend like there is no problem, that's not going to help you. Make the problem worse. If you double down, yep, that's still gonna be a problem. Or you do brand remediation. And brand remediation is not easy, and it's not cheap. And if you try to handle it yourself, you end up with situations like this, where you have an echo chamber where brand manager after brand manager looked at this artwork of 3 chimpanzees, and completely ignored the fact that you've had black players in Serie A who have had monkey chants hurled in their direction, bananas hurled in their direction, and thought to yourselves in this room, Mr. Brand Manager, oh yeah, sure, this is okay. No big deal. I think this conveys exactly what the artist says it does. If you are an artist and you have to have a multi-paragraph breakdown of what your artistic vision is, you're not doing it right. You can't sit there and say, my work is X when it comes to a marketing scenario. This isn't something that's hanging in the Museum of Modern Art or the Guggenheim in Venice where you can walk in and you have a whole sheet on what this means. You're using it as part of a brand remediation effort, which means that if you fail, the brand fails. Brand remediation is a zero-sum game. Either you nail it or you have failed horrifically. There is no in-between when it comes to brand remediation. This isn't a small PR effort where you tweet your way through it. This isn't something where you can just tweet bomb your timeline and hope that the haters fade away. Brand remediation requires you to put in extra layers of control. And if the brand managers for Serie A were on point, as soon as the artist said, hey guys, I'm done with this. You want to come take a look? You should have brought 3 people down to the studio and said, no, that's not going to work. What else you got? Anything? Do you have anything of a world? Like anything of a multicolor world? Can you send that down instead? Yeah, put some lines on it a little bit, make it look like a little bit of a soccer ball and a globe. And, maybe you can paint Lukaku in the background holding it. Maybe you could put Giuseppe Meazza next to him. Maybe a slogan that says, together to victory. How about that? There we go. Together to victory. I mean, guys, I came up with that in like 47 seconds. You're a global brand and you can't do better than this? The artist failed. The artist failed in executing the vision because it was supposed to be something where you look at and you go, yep, we are all descended from the same people, the same places in Africa. We all have a common ancestry. We all come together. Okay, no. You failed in that, Chief. You failed, right? And I don't like criticizing creative work unless it's tied to a marketing effort. Then I think it's fair game. Your message didn't land. Serie A, your brand managers should have said, nope, get me something else. And if the artist insisted on bringing this in, I would have had security immediately escort said gentleman and his artworks right out the back door. It's not that difficult. So what you need to do, since you have proven that you can't handle this on your own, this is my free advice for you, okay? It costs you nothing. You need to outsource your brand management to non-Italians or Italians abroad who have a better idea of what constitutes racism at a global level. I mean, that's it. I don't care if you have 5,000 different ideas of what constitutes racism within Italy. That doesn't bother me, okay? The greater issue I have is that there seems to be a level of ignorance within Serie A on what racism is. The guys who I interviewed in Italy, some who would appear on camera, some who would not, because of the nature of their work, all said the same thing. They didn't know each other. These guys had never met a day in their life. They all supported different teams, and they all said the same thing. The only division point should be the color of your jersey. I don't like you because you wear purple. I don't like you because you wear blue and black. Nobody likes you because you wear white and black and you're from Turin. Oh, Juve humor there, but you get the picture. It's not that difficult. But you insist on making it difficult because you keep trying to handle it yourself. Stop. Hire a global firm who has a global view on what constitutes racism. I'm not asking you to do a 15-page dissertation on the effects of the, that's not a dissertation, a 15-page summary of the Jim Crow laws. I'm not asking for that. I'm not expecting the average Italian to give me a breakdown of vagrancy laws in the Southeast. I am asking for you to reach out for help and get a basic idea of what the rest of the world thinks is racism. And this is going to be a shocker. Equating monkeys to humans is not the way to go about it. So Syria, call me. I'm not joking. I'm seriously not. My DMs are open. I'm here. Reach out to me. I will fly on my own dime to Milan. I will stay in some cheap up hotel, or I will stay with relatives. I don't care. And I will provide you free consultation on brand remediation, because it's time for you to bring in outside help. Please, for the love of the game, the love of the league, just make it happen. It's not difficult, guys. Okay, can I go to Champions League now? Good God. I'm sorry, I can only do so much with stupidity. I can only, this isn't like, when they try to do good, I acknowledge it. Good try, guys. Good try. You try to do something really great, but my God, did you not hit the landing at all? It's like executing like a 980 on a skateboard, like the half pipe, where they have the big half pipe at the X Games, and they do like some 980, some like almost physically impossible event. And then they go to land, but instead of landing, like they just like kamikaze right into the middle of the floor. That's exactly what happened here. Like that's it. This would be on any like marketing organization's collection of fail videos. Like any major advertising or marketing firm or any sort of PR firm that specializes in brand remediation would look at this and be like, this is what you don't do. Like day one employees, I'm showing them this campaign and being like, this is what you don't do. You have 20 minutes to pitch me a better idea than 3 monkeys behind our chief executive. Go. Call me. I'm ready. Anyway, Champions League. The draw is done. There are some juicy matchups here for the Champions League that's coming up. Starting on December? Oh my God, this is happening now. This Champions League draw, it's done. Where are your teams? My God in heaven. Are you ready for Atletico Madrid and Liverpool? Or Dortmund and PSG? You're not ready for this. Do you know why? Because these games are awesome. It's a fantastic draw. It's seriously probably one of the better draws I think I've ever seen for Champions League. February 18th, 19th, 25th, 26th. There's going to be some mighty strong games coming up. Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Dortmund, PSG, Atalanta, Valencia, Spurs versus Leipzig, Chelsea, Bayern, Napoli versus Barcelona, the Diego Maradona derby, Lyon versus Juve, and Real Madrid versus Man City. My God in heaven, how awesome is this? Thank you, Champions League, for saving us from the black hole of destruction of other stupendous, buffoonish news, the gravitational vortex that keeps sucking in all of our energies because we're trying to course correct one league's problems in life. Anyway, okay, so my matches of the draw. Oh, man alive. I'm going to go, first of all, Napoli-Barca is going to be, I think that's going to be a little juicier than people expect. Yes, Gattuso's in charge of Napoli, but keep in mind that Gattuso had Milan, this Milan team, at the edge of a Champions League spot. The one that's currently sitting like 11th, like 10th, 11th, 12th in there. Yeah, Gattuso had them contending for a Champions League spot. He's not a bad manager. He has a bad reputation. Is he Carlo Ancelotti? No. But I don't know if Napoli necessarily needs Carlo Ancelotti right now. They may need someone who's just putting a foot in the backside. And I think that's Gattuso. So it could be a slightly more exciting draw than I think everybody's expecting. The other game that really sticks out to me is going to be Dortmund and PSG. Is PSG for real? We know that they have a history of crashing out, a history of underachieving. I think PSG, this might be a special squad for them. And getting past Dortmund will go a long way, I think, in calming a lot of PSG fans down, one, and also maybe cementing some of the fact that they do belong. Inside that locker room, I think that the greatest detractors of PSG around the world are inside their own locker room, because I don't think they believe that they can do it. And beating Dortmund would go a long way to calming that sort of internal dialogue down and saying, hey, boys, we actually do belong here. Let's go out and show it. It can happen. I think Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool is the premier. It's the Nick Khalifi double uranium match of the tournament. That is going to be absolutely must-see TV. My God, I hope it's on TNT, because I'm not subscribing to BR to get this mess. I'm sorry. But Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, that is going to be on February 18th at 3 p.m. Whew. I'm so excited about this one. But let us know what you think. What are the matches that you think are going to be next level? I think Spurs and Leipzig. I'm sorry. I think Leipzig's going to run riot over them. I know that Jose's there and he knows how to park the bus, slash the tires, get 3 more buses dropping on top of that. I just think Leipzig's going to do it. I think Spurs go out, Leipzig goes in. I think Barcelona will eventually beat Napoli, but I think it's going to be a lot more entertaining than people expect. Real Madrid's a combined age of 947 years old, going against Man City. Man City is going to go full throttle down to destroy the planet to beat them. You don't think Pep wants to win this one? You really don't think Pep is going to break out every trick in the book to try to beat Real Madrid? Come on, son. Come on, fam. Get out of here with that. I'm going to go Man City over Real Madrid. Lyon versus Juve. Juve a little bit underperforming lately. Yeah, they're tied at the top of Serie A, but at the same time, this is probably one of the most vulnerable Juve teams we've seen in a while. Don't be terribly shocked if Juve falls to Lyon. I'm just saying, upset pick of the week right there. There you go. Unless something changes between now and the 26th of February, which is entirely possible. Chelsea versus Bayern. Yeah, Bayern should win that one, unless Chelsea goes through and starts loading up in January, which is entirely possible. Atalanta Valencia. I'm going to go with Valencia. I think the miracle run of Atalanta ends. I picked against them the whole way. I might as well stay consistent. So anyway, guys, hit me up at SOC over there, SOC over there. Or you can hit me up at Nick Khalifi. That's NICKALIFFI on Twitter. And let me know what your picks are for the Champions League. And also, please let me know your thoughts on the artistic merits of Serie A's little campaign. Let me know what you think about that. Again, it's brand remediation. I think they had the right idea for once. I think it's extraordinarily poor execution, and it just shows that there is a massive echo chamber inside Serie A headquarters. And that has to change if they want to make any real progress on reversing the image of the league, the name recognition of the league, and the brand identity. If they want to reverse any of that, they have to break the echo chamber, because they have to hear what people on the outside and from a global level are saying. Outside of that, Carlo Ancelotti, allegedly the finalist for the Everton job. Carlo, what are you doing? I think if you are Mosaken, this is probably the greatest news you could possibly have, because Carlo's going to come in. You will have someone who speaks fluent Italian to your young striker. Carlo can rebuild this kid's confidence. If they keep Mosaken there, if they can convince him to stay, this could be a sea change moment for him. So it's something to keep an eye on if it goes through. Whether Carlo should have taken the job, Ancelotti, I think, is somebody that he could have gone to coach just about anywhere. This is a step down for him, without question. I don't think he should have taken the Napoli job to begin with, because De Laurentiis is just an owner who is not the kind of team owner that Carlo is used to working with, and that was just a bad fit. So I think he could have gone to a higher profile job and probably been successful. I'm shocked that Milan didn't try to make a move for him. But then again, paying for Giampaolo and Pioli would have been just a bridge way too far for them financially right now. So I can kind of see why they didn't make the call, but I thought they might still. But that's it. That is my extraordinarily long-winded, winding, weaving soccer over there moment. We're going to have more video content coming for you down the pipe. Let me know what you think of my interview with Pierluigi from Secondhand in Padova. Remember, he's the Lazio fan who is stridently anti-racist. He has anti-racism jerseys in his store. He's somebody who I found to be exceedingly open and candid about his fandom of Lazio, what it means to him, what it means to his family, and really how it affects his day-to-day business. And so I personally think that Pierluigi is just an exceptional individual, and I greatly enjoy speaking with him. It's on our YouTube page. You can go to our YouTube page and check it out. Please do. And if you happen to go to Venice at any time soon, Padua is only a 20-minute train ride away, and I'm going to be featuring that in a video very soon, as soon as I get time to edit it, really. But I hope everyone out there is doing well, and if I don't hear from you before Christmas, which you probably will, I hope you have a magnificent holiday season. I love all of you. Thank you so much for listening, and just let me know. Let me know what you think. At Nick Leafy, at Sock over there. Roberto, man, if this is your first time listening, thanks for listening. And tell your friends in Florence about us. I will be back very soon, and you and I are going to sit down. We'll have a bistecca, massive cuts of steak. We're going to have a great time, man. Let me know. And talk to you soon. Till then, mucha Christmas presents, y'all.
Welcome back to Soccer Over There, Crumpets and Espresso. It's me, Jess Charman, ready for my hot take after the weekend. And in my opinion, one of the most crazy moments wasn't so much to do with action on the field, more action during the game and a surprise substitution. Yes, I'm talking about Everton versus Man United, Theatre of Dreams, but dreams were not made for Moise Kean. A substitute himself, then substituted after about 18 minutes of action. And for me, Duncan Ferguson, trying out in that interim role as the Everton coach, just did things a little bit wrong there. When I say a little bit wrong, probably an understatement. I thought it was appalling. Moise Kean, obviously a huge move for Everton, big money signing. Juventus, great success over there. And since he's made the switch to the Premier League, he's been underwhelming. There's no way around it. It hasn't been going well for him in Merseyside. But what Ferguson did for me was beyond ruthless. Moise Kean's 19 years old. We have to remember that. Sometimes I think we forget these professional footballers. There's so much pressure on their shoulders. Yes, they're paid big money. Yes, they have a dream job. A lot of us wished we could be in their shoes. But at the same time, they're still human. They're still youngsters. And for a 19-year-old to play at the Theatre of Dreams, playing at Old Trafford, Man United, huge game for him to be put onto the pitch with instructions, no matter how poorly he played, no matter what duels he won, what he did. I think that substitution was unnecessary. When you listen to the interviews with Ferguson, he just doesn't seem to realize what he did wrong. It's one of those where, yes, potentially he was making a time-wasting sub. At the same time, with the new rules that have been entered into FIFA, the substitution goes off on either side of the field, so how much time does it really waste? And if that's the reason for your substitution, surely you can pick a number of players, some of your older players potentially that may take it better, some of your older players that may need their legs rested, rather than a substitution that's confidence is already shot. And at this point, I don't know where it goes from here for Moise Kean. It's one of those where it can't get much worse, but how does it get better under Ferguson? Is he waiting for a new permanent appointment? Is he waiting for a way out? Is he on the phone with Serie A now trying to find a club that's going to suit him better? Because right now, Everton just isn't looking like a match made in heaven for Moise Kean. And for me, Duncan Ferguson's really made a statement about his managerial potential. And for me, I wouldn't be signing him up anytime soon on a long deal. He doesn't have that much managerial experience. Yes, he is a great coach. There's no going about that. But at the same time, not all good coaches are good managers. In America, I think sometimes coach and manager are used interchangeably. But for me, the coach is the person doing the technical side of things. The manager is more of the people person, the one that's keeping the players happy, that's working things out tactically. And I think Ferguson showed a lot of immaturity potentially with his decision with Moise Kean and just didn't respect the player. And like I say, I worry where things go for Moise Kean, and I wonder whether he's just waiting for a permanent appointment and maybe a clean slate to start from there. Away from Merseyside though, Leicester City messed up. We'll say that. They messed up against Norwich this weekend. The 1-1 draw really gave Liverpool that extra push to go further on ahead. And the Reds now, it looks like it's set in stone. But I was talking to one of my Liverpool supporting friends earlier this week, and she said, look, it's Liverpool. There's still a chance we'll mess it up. When you've been a Liverpool fan for as long as she has, she understands that there is a curse when it comes to Liverpool and the Premier League, but surely this has to be the year, and I'll knock on some wood for those Liverpool fans. This has to be the year that they come good when it comes to the Premier League. They just look consistent. Even when they don't look like they're going to win, they pull out results, and that's really what it takes to be a champion. And with Leicester dropping points against Norwich City, who, look, they've played some pretty soccer. They've got Pukki, who's fantastic, but they're clearly a relegation candidate. You can't be slipping up against teams like that. So for me, I'd be putting some money on Liverpool right now if I was a gambling lady, or should I say juice boxes. Apologies, John. But like you say, with Liverpool, you never know. We shall see. But as Christmas time approaches and all of the crazy results and game schedule, fixture lists that happen in that time in England, we shall see what happens for the Reds as they keep marching on. My last highlight I wanted to talk about was the Chelsea-Bournemouth game. Got to catch the goal. What a goal it was. The beautiful chip-over finish to give the lead against Frank Lampard. Lampard has to be wondering what he can do with Chelsea. It's just so on-off for them. They have moments of magic, the Blues, and then they just look atrocious defensively. One thing that really caught my eye in that game, though, was the use of VAR. Now, VAR did the right thing. It was a goal. But you have to be worried when your ARs are giving decisions like the one that he decided to lift his flag up for. Yes, there was one player in an offside position, clearly wasn't active in the goal. And when they were doing the lines on the screen during the VAR, you had to wonder how on earth did the human get that one wrong. Look, I referee myself. I know it's not easy. We're all capable of mistakes. But on the big stage, the last thing you want to see as a referee or an AR is seeing how wrong your call was originally, but rightly overturned by VAR. Those are the ones you like to see, the ones where it's clearly incorrect, it's clearly being righted. It's the ones where it's an armpit offside that are so hard to deal with. But at the same time, as I keep stating on Twitter, it's a yes-no answer, and Premier League does have the best technology when it comes to those decisions, and that's why when you compare the tightness and marginality of the Premier League calls compared to MLS, that's why they look so different on the screen. And that's really it for my hot takes, focusing more on the intricate things rather than the big picture plays, other than the Liverpool Premier League bid, of course. But that's it for me. If you want to follow me on Twitter, always talking about soccer, trying to keep positive as a Reading FC fan. I'm beaten in two, but in a game on Saturday where there were 0 shots on target for either team, you can tell that sometimes it's like scratching a blackboard for me listening to the Reading games. At Jess Talks Footy, and that's me signing out. Crumpets and espresso. Go have a good old crumpet and Merry Christmas.
Let's take a look at what's happened in match week 17 when it comes to the Premier League. And the biggest news is coming from what we're learning from Sky Sports, the idea that Carlo Ancelotti might be the new manager at Everton. And I know that if Nick is hearing this news for the first time, he's probably screaming several times over. But it's a massive rebuild at Everton. If Ancelotti wants that kind of trouble for a team right now that's only 3 points clear from the bottom, more power to you. It's going to be a big turnaround. There is a lot of talent there that he can fully take advantage of, but it's a fight to be out of the relegation zone. Looks like Carlo Ancelotti, according to our friends at Sky Sports, is taking over at Everton. I would have liked to have seen you someplace else, frankly. Let's take a look at the results. Liverpool, no shock, knocking off Watford 2-0. Burnley, big 3 points, beating Newcastle, an injured side 1-0. Bournemouth, an even bigger 3 points for them, beating Chelsea 1-0. And remember, Chelsea's coming off of for competition midweek, I believe. So Leicester 1-1 at Norwich. And here's something that got to me. When folks were sitting there saying, oh, Leicester's title hopes were dashed, who in the wide world of sports honestly thought that Leicester, 10 points behind and 10 points behind Liverpool going into the weekend, or when the weekend was over, honestly thought that there was a chance? I mean, me? No. If it was going to be anybody, I thought it was going to be Manchester City. But Leicester's title hopes dashed, took a big hit. I don't think they had them. I think a lot of folks needed to pump the brakes a lot when it comes to Leicester City. So Leicester and Norwich, that one was 1-1. Big 2 points surrendered there by Leicester in the grand scheme of things, but they're still second, 10 points behind Liverpool in the standings. Sheffield United, big win over Aston Villa. Good for the Blades as they continue to do things well with a 3-5-2. Who knew something like that would go down? 1-0, big win for West Ham over Southampton. Southampton, there's a reason that they're in the relegation fight, and that might have at least temporarily saved Manuel Pellegrini's gig, as right now they're at 19 points. Manchester United had to come back and get a goal to tie Everton 1-1. And honestly, the more that I think about it, I think the Big Dunk should have just been given the gig for the rest of the season. But that's just me. Tottenham 2-1 winners over Wolves. Big comeback, big win for Jose Mourinho and his side over Wolves, who were in Europa League competition, I believe, midweek. And then clinical work. I mean, this could have been a whole lot worse. But Manchester City, 3-0 over Arsenal. And to be perfectly honest, could have been a lot worse. De Bruyne was sitting on a hat trick. It was clinical. It was decisive. And Arsenal under Freddie Ljungberg is in a boatload of trouble. Let's take a peek at the standings. You look at Liverpool, Leicester, Manchester City. Manchester City third at 35. Then there's another gap. Chelsea at 29 and fourth. Tottenham, and here's where the gaggle starts. Really, you go Tottenham in fifth, Manchester United, Sheffield United, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Newcastle. They're all within 4 points of each other, and that takes you from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th, 5th through 11th. You add Burnley at 21, that's 12. Brighton, 20 at 13. Bournemouth ahead of West Ham at 19 points to get you 14-15. Everton at 18, and then another bit of space with Aston Villa and Southampton. Aston Villa north of the drop zone on goal difference. Southampton, Norwich, and Watford 15, 12, and 9. I'm still looking at Southampton, Norwich, and Watford right now, unless Villa decides to back their way into it. I just think that the other teams ahead of them are just too talented to get anything going on in the drop zone. But the biggest news has to do with Ancelotti probably heading to Everton. That scream you heard in the background, that's Nick. That's your England review.
Hey, y'all. All right, let's crack it open for a quick hit. We'll get north of the border, pop open an iron brew. Let's take a look at Scotland, see what he had over the weekend. And I think I'm going to take responsibility for the Alfredo Morelos situation in Rangers ever since I started talking about Morelos being a guy who's kind of just found his middle emotionally. Things seem to have gotten a little bit sideways with him, though. To be fair, in this instance, it wasn't so much him as the eternal debate about how you deal with players who are celebrating and giving one back to the fans. So, bottom line is Rangers win 2-0 over the weekend, and the second goal comes by Morelos. El Buffalo scores, and then after a game of being harassed by the fans, he runs over and makes a gesture to them. Wasn't a one-finger salute. He just gave the fist up and just told him to stick it up where the sun don't shine, basically. And he was already on a yellow card. Aims it at the home fans, and then the ref sends him off because it's Alfredo Morelos. And it's one of those where I don't necessarily think it's one of those where he should have been sent off necessarily. It's going to hurt Rangers potentially down the line because now you don't have him for the next game. And it's a second yellow card, not a straight red, so it cannot be appealed. It's not ideal, and I think another player may not get that punishment. Morelos' reputation still precedes him a bit, but he still continues to score goals, so Rangers will just have to figure out how to do that without him. They will get him back, however, after Christmas when they go on to play in Europa League as they make the last 32. They were not a seeded team, however. They will play Braga. That'll be an interesting draw for them. Scotland still needs 2 wins to jump up in the coefficient and get themselves 2 teams for Champions League for 2020-2021 season. On the other side of Glasgow, Celtic gets a nice win. Jeremy Frimpong, who's one of the signings who comes in this year, continues to play well, scores a goal. Then Edson Odward does what Edson Odward does and continues to score goals for Celtic as well. Look, this is the kind of business where you look at what Atlanta United can be. This is kind of what you want to see from them down the road. Is your Celtic, it's summer, you sell Kieran Tierney, who has the health history at this point of a poor man's, not a poor man's, Greg Garza. Like, Greg Garza is like the poor man's Kieran Tierney at this point, where he just cannot stay on the field. It's just one thing after another. They make a bank by sending Tierney to Arsenal, then they go get Frimpong, go get Boldy as well, all for less than they spent, and guys are producing, making money. It's what you want to see while keeping some guys who can continue to contribute down the road. Celtic, on the other hand, were seeded in the Europa League round of 32 draw. They'll take on FC Copenhagen up in Denmark, which I recommend a visit to. Actually, a really fun city if you ever get a chance. Tivoli is a fun amusement park, but that aside, again, Scotland still needs 2 wins, and this is one where I think if you're Celtic, you have to like your chances. And if you're Rangers, I think Rangers has to like their chances, even if it is against a Braga team that can slap them around and jump up and bite them. Morelos has dragged Rangers through Europe at this point, and that's basically just the way it is. I think he can continue to do it, honestly. It's just they're determined not to sell him in January. I honestly don't think they will. But if he can drag them through, Scotland's going to be in a good spot going ahead in 2020, 2021. It's already been a banner year for the league, having 2 teams make the round of 32, and especially for Celtic, having just outright won their group. They basically sent a bunch of kids out to Prague. To Cluj when they played the last game of the last match week. You had a 18-year-old starting. You had a Karamoko Dembele at 16 years old coming off the bench. It was a chance to get some of those young guys a chance to go out there and play. Olivier Nsham had the armband, for God's sakes. It's not a knock on Nsham. It's pointing out that you had a pretty young roster out there. Rangers goes and gets their draw, as we recounted last time. So we'll keep an update on what's going on in the league. It still stands Celtic leading the league, Rangers sitting in second. Still nothing about Steven Gerrard and Liverpool, especially with the new extension. So we're going to table that for a while, and that might be tabled for 4 or 5 years, honestly. I still think it's going to be a thing that gets discussed at some point down the road, especially if Gerrard can win the league and pick up a trophy or 2 up at Rangers. But everyone's through. Everyone's in good shape. We're coming up on a winter break because, you get up in the Highlands up there in Scotland, and it's basically playing on permafrost around this time of year. You get a little deeper into December and January, you're playing on a tundra. So we'll probably get a little bit of a break up there. Some teams will take their trips. I know Celtic in the past have gone to like Dubai and the south of France to train in warmer weather. So they'll probably get a bit of a break. Everyone recover. The January window will always be weird in Scotland, whether or not somebody leaves from Celtic or Rangers to go south or to go somewhere else, whether someone else in the league goes to Celtic or Rangers. It's just this weird circle of life. Back to y'all. That's it from north of the border again. 2 teams through to the round of 32. We know who they're going to play. 2 wins, and Scotland's in good shape. Celtic and Rangers really carrying the banner right now. And Alfredo Morelos really carrying Rangers and making a hell of a showing for himself. He's going to make a lot of money sooner rather than later, even if it's not in Glasgow.
Well,
welcome back to the Soccer Over There Crumpets and Espresso style edition. Hope you've had a crumpet, some espresso, some iron brew, some mate, some whatever it takes for you to get through the day. We will be back live next week from the Brewhouse Cafe. Next Monday, the 23rd, it'll be a big Boxing Day preview of the action to come in the Premier League. It'll be a big recap of a busy week this week. I'll try to preview a little bit of it for you here that the crew has not covered. Not batting cleanup, batting fifth. I don't know really what that would be called. I'm not a big baseball guy anymore. So batting fifth in the order. We don't have a wrestling stable name for this group either. I'll take Main Event Mafia. That was a pretty good one. Motor City Machine Guns might be my favorite wrestling stable name. I don't know what the Atlanta equivalent of that would be, but thanks to everybody for contributing to this show, to Nick, to Jess, to John, to Jarrett, for giving you guys the Soccer Over There information that you need to know going into the week. Let me try to fill in some of the gaps of other stuff that has grabbed my attention. The whole Mikel Arteta to Arsenal thing that has popped up now. What's interesting is a certain figure by the name of Dome Tarrant, who has not taken a job as of yet after leaving New York City. He would kind of be a ready-made replacement to go back to Manchester City and work with Pep, right? He did have a few things to say about City Football Group that maybe they didn't look too kindly upon. If Arteta goes to Arsenal and leaves Pep, would that open up a spot for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst? Is all of this why maybe New York City FC has not hired a manager just yet? Because everyone assumed when Tarrant left that Van Bronckhorst was going to be the guy, and it was just a matter of time. It hasn't happened yet. This is really strange how the second chair in Manchester spins and who's going to end up sitting in it when the musical chairs is done. That's just part of the Arsenal thing. The other part that affects Major League Soccer is Patrick Vieira would seem to be somebody that Arsenal might want to talk to. You know, he did have a bit of a career in London. He's at Nice now in France. He has also been mentioned as the man for Inter Miami, but it hasn't happened as of yet. And again, people are wondering, why? Why is that the case? Is it because of this opportunity that could have presented itself? Is it something else? Was it all, incorrect? Who knows? Our friend of the show, Jillian Sakovitz, chimed in on Twitter a little bit ago this afternoon and said that Inter Miami now expects to announce their coach by January 1st. Now, Jillian also tweeted, at expansion draft November 19, Jorge Mas told me the candidate was chosen and had input on the day. Team rep told me it is still that person. Okay. So what is going on with this, with all of it? I really wish I knew. I'm going to be very, very intrigued to see how the dominoes fall when this hire gets named. One person that I don't think it's going to be in Miami, and I don't think it's going to be in New York, and I don't think it's going to be at Arsenal or the magical second chair next to Pep Guardiola, is Alan Pardew. He has been linked to an open vacancy at ADO Den Haag in the Netherlands now. That's been a minute for Pardew, and I feel like he's been everywhere in England, and this is a country for him to conquer, and I'll be curious to see how he does. Sam Allardyce has also been saying some things about how he could fix the defense at Arsenal. Sam has been kind of in that boat, waiting on the next opportunity to rescue a team from relegation. It could happen. It could materialize. Has not yet for Sam or Pardew, but Pardew is being mentioned with a move to the Netherlands. Let's stay in the Netherlands for just a second. Ajax, after the year that they had last year, I think everyone just expected that it would continue on and they would be a powerhouse. And now you've got the money that they've brought in from transfers, and they'd be able to just keep it rolling. Well, they are in first place in the Eredivisie. They are level with AZ Alkmaar on 41 points, 13-2-2 in league play. They've scored 52 goals in 17 matches in league play. It's a lot. They haven't scored in their last 3 matches, period, though. And this is the first time since April of 1956 that Ajax have gone 3 straight without a goal. Now, this is in all competitions, but back-to-back losses via clean sheet in the Netherlands. They lost to Willem, and they lost to AZ yesterday. That puts AZ in that number 2 spot, level on points with Ajax, 6 goal differential numbers back. Ajax is on a plus 37. AZ is on a plus 31. Willem is in 3rd place on 32 points in the Netherlands. Interesting one with Ajax. You would expect that this would turn, but man, 3 straight losses in all competitions and all by clean sheet. Not what you would expect out of Ajax. The Club World Cup semifinals are this week, a competition that we know in 2021 is going to get a massive restructuring. It is the current format that we've worked with for a little while. This year, it will be again next year before that restructuring. And Monterrey gets to the semifinals, and they get a huge matchup on Wednesday with Liverpool. It is not the first time that Monterrey and Liverpool have met. It will be the first time that they've met in official competition. But if you go back to 1964, Monterrey and Liverpool met at Soldier Field in Chicago. 3-0 win for Liverpool on a summer American tour of the States. Monterrey, it was the first time, according to the reports that I read when I went back and looked at this in the archives, that they had played in the United States and didn't draw a huge crowd at Soldier Field. I think it was about 13,000 fans. So this game, a little bit different stakes. Monterrey with a big 3-1 win to get to this point. They beat Al-Sadd, Xavi's Al-Sadd. 3-2, sorry. Al-Sadd made it a little interesting at the end of it with an 89th minute goal. Absolute golazo from Leonel Vangioni, 23rd minute rocket into the upper 90 off the inside of the post. Rogelio Funes Mori in first half stoppage time made it 2-0. Al-Sadd pulled 1 back in the 66th minute, and then Carlos Rodriguez took it to 3-1 in the 77th before Hassan made it 3-2 in the 89th. Monterrey did not dominate possession. They won't do that against Liverpool either. They only had 37% of the possession. They sat, they countered effectively. Can they do that against Liverpool? Look, it's a huge ask. It's the game that they hoped they would get. It's an opportunity for them to play with a giant in the world and an opportunity for them to wave the flag proudly for CONCACAF. And if you're an Atlanta United fan, if you're a Major League Soccer fan, you're going to be looking at this game and looking at how Monterrey can compete. I think they do have the ability to compete. Xavi was glowing talking about Monterrey and how good they were and how they can give Liverpool all kinds of trouble and how they're very well coached. All the things you would expect a man with the class of Xavi to say. There's a gulf in talent. Let's not get this twisted. There's a huge gulf in talent, but a good performance from Monterrey would go a long way to, I think, raising the perception of CONCACAF, of Liga MX, of by transient property, by MLS and Atlanta United, because right now Atlanta United is the only team that's beaten Monterrey in international competition in 2019. Probably going to change on Wednesday, but crazier things have happened when we get to the Club World Cup. So the first semifinal is on Tuesday, however. Flamengo and Al Hilal will meet at 12:30. The Monterrey-Liverpool match is also at 12:30 on Wednesday. Both are available on Fox Deportes. I believe both will be available on FS2 as well. Fox really hasn't gone out of their way to promote this. They brought in the world feed on the Monterrey match from the weekend. I'd expect that they do the same this week. The final will be on Saturday at 12:30. The third place match is Saturday at 9:30. So everything is set, as it always is in this competition, for a South America versus Europe final. Can Monterrey or Al Hilal throw a monkey wrench into that? It's possible. Probably not, but it's possible. Flamengo has to show that they can handle the business here. We've seen the South American team slip up far too often in this competition. Flamengo has the opportunity to dispel that notion and get a big match with Liverpool. If you go back in Flamengo's history, the last time they won the Intercontinental Cup, which was the forerunner to this, they beat Liverpool, and Zico was on the field to do it. Can that happen again on Saturday? Zico might be there, but he's not going to be on the field playing anyway. Can Gabigol and crew get it done? They got to take care of a semifinal where they're the overwhelming favorites. Both Flamengo and Liverpool should take care of business. They will be the favorites by a large margin, and Monterrey and Al Hilal will be looking for a wild upset on Tuesday and or Wednesday. The match that will get everybody's attention after Monterrey and Liverpool on Wednesday is El Clasico. Barcelona and Real Madrid. Both teams had some interesting matches on the weekend. That's one way to put it anyway. The headline at Mundo Deportivo in Spain was El Clásico Robo, talking about Barcelona and Real Sociedad, the classic robbery. VAR had a role to play, or didn't have a role to play, and it should have had a role to play. It was a 2-2 draw. Not happy about the initial decision to give a penalty to Real Sociedad, and then not happy when Piqué was dragged down at the end. Manhandled has been one way to put it, and did not get the opportunity to head home across late. So, Barcelona officials have vowed to send a letter to the authorities. They have talked about how they were in favor of bringing VAR into Spain, and now they're very upset about it because they are not getting any respect and they're not getting any calls, and they're very frustrated. So, people are not happy about VAR when, honestly, this is not necessarily a VAR thing. It's a referee thing, as we talk about many, many times when it comes to this. Real Madrid didn't have it any easier in their match on Sunday. It took a late bit of magic for them to get a draw as well. Crazy, crazy game where Valencia took the lead in the 78th minute, and in the 95th minute, Thibaut Courtois nearly equalized for Real Madrid. He's up on a corner, good header, makes the save. Courtois gets another touch on the rebound, and it's Karim Benzema who blasts it home to get the point. So, what does that do when it comes to the La Liga table? Well, Barcelona and Real Madrid are 4 points clear. They are at the top. They are level. Sevilla is 4 points back, 31. Getafe is on 30. Atletico is on 29 in fifth place. Barca has the very slight edge over Real Madrid in goal differential, plus 23 to plus 21. Couple things going into this that grabbed my attention. So we've talked a lot about Ernesto Valverde and Barcelona because everybody in Spain has too. I think maybe the talk about Zinedine Zidane has at least quieted down just a little bit. But a lot of the talk about Valverde has been about his approach, his style of play is not the traditional Barcelona way, and that's rubbed a lot of people wrong. And the comparison we've had is Tata Martino and his year in Barcelona and how he drifted away from some of the ways that Barcelona was known to play and brought a more vertical style of play into it. The 50% possession mark has been kind of the magic number for Barcelona. They're expected to dominate possession and always have more than 50% of the ball. Tata Martino, the one time that he did not have more than 50% of possession in 59 matches was a big win for him, but people lost their minds about it. Luis Enrique, in 181 matches, under 50% of the possession 6 times. Now, this is what people are pointing out when it comes to Valverde. Now, of course, keep in mind, this is a little silly. Valverde's 141 matches as manager at Barcelona, 9 times they have had less than 50% of the possession, and this weekend was another one of those times. That rubs the Barcelona crowd the wrong way when it's just not how Barcelona is expected to play. If you do that and you are winning things, I think people will look the other way. If you do that and you are not winning all of the things, rumbling starts. And this is a match where I think both managers are grudgingly accepted at this point. But if there is a loser at the end of Wednesday, whichever manager is on the losing side of it, I think that grudging acceptance is going to turn to something else. And be curious to see what the media is looking like out of Spain afterwards. A couple other updates real quick in South America. River Plate won the Copa Argentina on Friday night. Not a shock. They were playing Central Cordoba. They won as expected. It's another trophy for Marcelo Gallardo. River also was involved in an announcement today. Ezequiel Palacios, who at one point had been linked to Inter Miami, he goes to Bayer Leverkusen for over $20 million. That's, I think, out of the price range of Inter Miami. It would be the largest transfer that MLS has ever made. Palacios headed to Leverkusen instead of MLS. Another manager who I thought might end up getting thrown into the mix when it comes to Inter Miami is Eduardo Caldet. He played in the United States, played with the Philadelphia Union, also played for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. He won another trophy with Racing after winning the league title last year, the Trofeo de Campeones over the Copa Argentina, or the Copa de la Superliga champions, Tigre, last year. Caldet is on his way out at Racing. He is now headed to Internacional in Brazil. Intrigued about Caldet. I like what he's done at Racing. They have definitely been a team that neutrals have enjoyed in Argentina. This could be a big jump for him if he goes there and has success with a club that has been a powerhouse in Brazil in recent times. I think his name is going to get mentioned more in these types of jobs, whether it's coming to Mexico, whether it's coming to the United States, whether it's going to, and Racing is a big club in Argentina, but going to an even bigger club. Would he ever be considered for a Boca or a River job? Would he be interested in it? Because Caldet did say something that rubbed some people the wrong way after his Trofeo de Campeones victory, where he talked about the man who is expected to take his place at Racing, Sebastian Becasese, who had a very short stint at Independiente, did not go well after a massive amount of success over previous seasons at Defensa y Justicia. Caldet said that he would never go to Independiente. He made it clear that he would never go there. Now that Racing and Independiente, the stadiums are separated by the distance of a Brad Guzan punt. Little understandable that wouldn't happen on a normal basis. Caldet spent more time at Racing than Becasese did at Independiente. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I think Becasese is a top young manager in the game. He has to rebuild his stature a little bit after a big dent at Independiente, but he was there for a few months. And if he's going to go, if he's not happy about the way it ended at Independiente, and he's going to go, literally, maybe not quite literally, but basically across the street to Racing, that's a little bit of a stick it to Independiente kind of move. So I think Racing fans will embrace that. He doesn't really have that strong connection to Independiente anyway. But Caldet, I think, furthers his connection to the people of Racing. And we'll see how things go in Brazil for him. I do think he's a manager who could very well end up in Major League Soccer someday, but not now. So Miami, they've got a guy in place. We just don't know who it is. Should be announced before January 1st. Should have been announced I think last week, maybe the week before. I don't know. I'm throwing my hands up. I have no idea at this point. Designated players coming. There are some rumblings about potential big names for Miami. Roger Martinez out of Club America has been one who's been linked. There have been quite a few other South American players linked. Angel Di Maria is a player that has been linked with a move from Europe. Hasn't come up specifically about Major League Soccer, but hey, fit the profile. Probably can't get him till the summer, though. And is that going to be okay for a Miami to wait for a player of that stature? Great player. Great player. But is he going to move the needle in a city like Miami? I don't know. I don't know. Miami's in a really weird spot. And I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about what's going on in Chicago as well. I think they're another one who should be in the market for a big name. Silly season is starting to get really ramped up. The manager side of it has already been spinning quite fast. The player side of it is only going to pick up. One player to keep an eye on that has been making the rounds, and I would expect a move from him soon. I wonder if it'll be in this window, is Gremio's Everton. Everton has raised his stature hugely in the past year. He'll get a big deal in Europe. We're talking probably 35, 40 million plus. Where is he going to end up? Everton is one club that has been linked to him because, of course, clubs in Italy have been linked to him as well. That's one of those moves that maybe is the biggest one on the table in this upcoming winter window. See if it happens. We'll keep you posted, but we'll be back next week as Gwen gets fired up about Everton and where Everton could end up. We'll be back with you next week at the Brewhouse Cafe, 6 o'clock. Come out and hang out with us on the 23rd, day before Christmas Eve. We'll get you set for Boxing Day. We'll get you set for all of the latest news that happens over the next week. I'm sure we'll have a lot. Hopefully we won't have a Mondays with Racism segment, although it seems to happen every Monday. We will have a Mondays with Reddit segment for sure, and we'd love to have you come join us and talk about your favorite team, your favorite league. Hope to see you at the Brewhouse next week. We'll have Crumpets and Espresso officially later this week as we preview the upcoming weekend. We'll recap El Clasico. We'll recap the Club World Cup semifinals. All of that to come later this week. Thanks for listening. All the lira, all the euros. Mucho platiel.